Hang on a second.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone, it's CJ, and I am back with W. We had a great interview earlier with V, and we had some closing. W had some closing thoughts, comments that he wanted to include on his wonderful interview. So, W, I turn it over to you.
Well, we were talking about events going on around the world. One of the things that we noticed the other day, I think it was Time Online, had a picture of the White House with a headline that the Kremlin issues and the Kremlin itself were overshadowing function at the White House. And so they have this picture depicting the White House, but instead of using Red Square or the Kremlin or some other visage, a submarine, an airplane or something overshadowing the White House, what do they use? They use the Russian Orthodox Church headquarters with all the spires and colorful art and everything else, as though it's overshadowing the White House. And then you have to think about this for a second. Was it a mistake? Was it some, kid in the art department that, just picked something out of Russia, or was that intentional? Trump's going on his first international junket. And where's he going first? The Vatican, religious center of a big portion of the population of the planet. Where's his second stop? Israel, Jerusalem, next big center, Jews and Christians. And where's his third stop? Saudi Arabia, Mecca. He won't go to Mecca because he's not Muslim, but he's going to be visiting these big religious leaders and centers. And so what is this whole conflict about that we're in right now? Is there more of a religious component? And is that visage on the magazine cover online there, is that got some hidden meaning? The real issue here is more of a religious issue, even, possibly than is given credit for. Well, then what happens today? It's announced that the powers that be there in Kiev and Ukraine intend to appropriate all the properties, church buildings, and the parishioners of the Russian Orthodox Church in Ukraine and turn it all over to a Ukraine church entity. You just can't even imagine how many billions and billions of dollars worth of assets and facilities are involved there. Why? Because the Russians are now the enemy, so they're going to appropriate all the church property in the Ukraine. You don't think there's a religious component to this? It's huge. It's monstrous. Now, Deb brought this to my attention, and so Bankster Babe, and she will probably write something here shortly, and James is so knowledgeable on this stuff. But in providing that bigger context, the religious aspects of the next few days while Trump's doing this grand tour are off the charts. And why announce this appropriation of these church properties today? Think about that, because it fits right in with this whole trip with Trump. And who's pulling the strings behind the scenes in the Ukraine? Come on, that's us that went in there and picked that fight.
Oh yeah.
And by the way, just one last thing too. I was mentioning the situation with the pilot deceased earlier, and so they locate another pilot for the private jet, and they get down to their meeting. They arrive an hour and 45 minutes late at the location for the meeting, this private residence, and they wouldn't even allow them in the gate, see them at the door, issue any apologies or accept any apologies for not doing the meeting. They canceled the meeting because they're an hour and 45 minutes late. They said, well, but our pilot died. A meeting this important, you would have been here yesterday. And of course, why weren't they there the previous day? Because the CEO was chasing tail. He was, after his girlfriends. So that extra little few hours probably cost him $1.2 billion, and the chief pilot a friend. Which was more valuable? Which was more costly? Pretty pricey neighborhood these guys live in, but that's how they think. The life wasn't even the most important thing as far as these people doing the meeting. It was a business thing. If it was important, you'd been here yesterday. I don't care if your pilot died, whatever. We're not doing the meeting. On to the next deal. Why also? Because there's so many deals out there right now. As the economy is turning, they have their pick of the litter. They can do all sorts of them. So they're on to the next deal.
Absolutely.
To tell you something, when you're in that neighborhood, that's how mercurial the situation is globally right now. It can turn on a dime. And even though they would probably have made money on this deal, a lot of money, probably doubled their money, their investment in the next 6 to 8 months based on certain things that are happening, they have other investments that are just as good or more. In this crowd, with what's going on right now, they are very big things are happening. So, we need to be sensitive to the fact that, in our small world, the surprises can come fast and hard and strong. And you just got to keep your wits about you. And you got to make, well-informed choices, be ahead of the curve, and, not chasing billion-dollar tail for no good reason.
Very valid point. Very valid.
So anyway, I just thought I'd add that. I just, I think it just goes to the context of the moment. I hope that was worth that extra second or two for your listeners, and I appreciate the opportunity to share with some folks. I hope that they'll feel that was as important to add to.
Oh, absolutely, W. We really appreciate your wisdom. I know our listeners do as well. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons I really wanted you to come on, because we had so many requests, so many emails saying, when's W coming back on? When's W? Where's W? Is W okay? So I really appreciate your time as well.
Well, yeah, it is. As you know, I had a pretty hectic day today, and it is pretty busy. It's funny though. Right after we got off the radio, and what made me think of this, of all crazy things, I had a killer whale that breached out in front of the property here. He was only about 100 yards out in front of the house. I couldn't believe it. And I'm going, man alive, what are the chances? I haven't seen but, I mean, he just comes flying out of the water, and he was in an area that's actually pretty shallow. I was like, why is he
wow, that's amazing.
I believe this whale right now is calving. So we're having a demonstration today of this whale out here in the pond off in the distance while mom is calving, is what we think is going on. So we'll know a little later. So
that's very cool. Very cool.
While we were talking about expiration and horrible situations and like that, life goes on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm starting to sound like V. I say absolutely all the time, but I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Why am I saying absolutely if he's not even on? Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So thank you, W, for our listeners. Thanks for listening to this little additional, just some closing thoughts. We have some great releases going on to roguemoney.net. There's a couple articles that got posted even this evening, so go check those out, roguemoney.net, and then we'll be releasing some interviews, some other content this weekend on our YouTube channel. So stay tuned. With that being said, we're over and out. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.